Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Omega Files. I'm your host, Dr. Freedom, and tonight we've gathered to have a little talk about the release of the Christmas special teaser that we have now found out that will be titled Twice Upon a Time, featuring Peter Capaldi, David Bradley, and also a surprise, Pearl Mackie. Well, surprise if you haven't been watching my channel, because I'm an evil bastard. But okay, let's get around. When I call your name, let's go ahead and go into your thoughts on the trailer. We're going to start from bottoms up, so let's start with Elijah Kraling.
Where to begin with this trailer? It was amazing. That first shot where you have William Hartnell morph into David Bradley, that was just amazing. And it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out and how much Polly and Ben get to play into it. Maybe it's just brief scenes. And the only little gripe I had with it was Polly's outfit in the trailer was pink, but actually it was red, but that's it.
Who cares? It was black and white. Moving on. Let's go to William.
Hey, now, everybody. It was a great trailer. It was unusual yesterday and the day before when those of us who were watching the YouTube videos from San Diego Comic-Con, we noticed that they just finished filming and some of the editing has not yet been finished. So what we saw had to be at least the first maybe 20 minutes of the episode of the story. Seeing David Bradley as the first doctor was great. And what's unusual, we don't even know if there is any, who the villain is of this story. But we know that for a scene we saw that time stood still, and then a soldier joined them in the story plot, and then you jump to a scene with Bill Potts, which, you know, her scene was done way a while ago before Peter Capaldi's, so that's why they was able to put it in. So I look forward to seeing this story. I mean, it's sad to see this at the leave, but I think changes happen, but you know, that's the way it is. But I look forward to it.
Okay, let's move on over to Kevin.
Oh, well, before we go over to a woman, yes, the doctor is going to become a woman. Well, the trailer, it looks very cool from the first. Even my mother was like, "Is that William Hartnell?" She saw the trailer too, and yeah, the first beginning shot is from the 10th planet. Peter Capaldi saying that there's two of us. And yeah, it's just awesome trailer. Only 1 minute, but yeah, it's a teaser. So yeah, what do you expect?
Yeah, a lot more than I was expecting we would get, you know, to be honest with you. Okay, Matt Ruse.
Oh, hello. Very exciting. It's the beginning of the end, sadly, but I enjoyed it. It was a fantastic little trailer. We didn't get much about the story. We didn't, as I said, already pointed out, I don't know who the baddie is yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing if there's going to be banter with the doctors as usual, and it's usually they all meet up and like, oh, it's me, oh, no, it's me, blah, blah, blah. But yes, it's very exciting. That is harking back to the 10th planet, and I was not expecting Polly in this trailer. It just really made me smile seeing her again. And as Elijah pointed out, hopefully we get to see Ben as well. And I'm looking forward to the new era, and sad the old is going, but it's just already got me excited, and I want Christmas to happen now. I want my gift of Doctor Who goodness now, please. Thank you.
Yep, as much as I'd say I'm looking forward to Christmas, no, it's the weather that kills it for me. But okay, let's go to Matt Edwards. The Wheels.
Well, what can I say, guys? Hello, it's nice to be here. Matt on Wheels here. Wow, what a nice little teaser we got. One thing I was wanting to follow up on that Matt Rose alluded to is, you know, this first Doctor and Capaldi story reminds me that the Doctor has varying opinions of himself, depending on which version you ask. he might have different ways of looking at previous incarnations. So it'll be interesting, since these are one of the two older Doctor incarnations, what they'll think about each other. Will 12 find more of a kindred spirit with David Bradley's first Doctor, or will they both butt heads like a bunch of curmudgeon old men? So it'll be interesting. But one thing I did notice about this teaser is mostly Capaldi had most of the dialogue. They did a real good job of giving us just enough of the first Doctor without actually getting a lot from him in this trailer in terms of lines. Kind of like they're really saving him for the actual episode, which I think is good, because when it comes to trailers, as you know, a lot of modern trailers have a habit of giving away too much. This one didn't really seem to give away too much. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what the plot is. We do know that, as has been alluded to, there will be classic companions, so that'll be interesting. Yeah, just really looking forward to it. And one last thing that comes to mind is, in The Adventure in Space and Time, we saw David Bradley in character as William Hartnell. We did not see him in character a lot as the first Doctor. And there is a difference. So it'll be interesting to see how he brings not just William Hartnell, but the first Doctor's personality to life in this story. That'll be something new. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm really excited.
Yeah, if you look around online, Wheels, there's a lot of other things they filmed with Adventure in Space and Time. They recreated some of the scenes from the show. If you look around like on YouTube and all that, they should be up there. He does a really good job as the first Doctor.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those. It'll be interesting to get those in bigger chunks, though, with this.
Okay, Philip?
Sorry. Hello. Yes. I've only just seen it very quickly, and from what I see of it, it's looking very good. I was a little bit trepidatious about it. I do wonder though. You know, when they show you the first Doctor's hand glowing with regeneration energy, I kind of don't like that idea of them putting that in there, because it changes the authenticity. I can't say the word. Authenticity. I can't say that word. Authenticity of his regeneration. If they show him like going, it's going to be a bit odd. But for the trailer itself, it looks really good. I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to show us at Christmas. And yeah, well done.
All righty. Okay, let's move over to Graham.
Yeah, looks sexy, looks sweet, looks tidy. You've got all the bangs and whistles in here. You've got explosions. You've got Peter Capaldi. You've got David Bradley. And you have essentially two Doctors in the process of their regenerations at the end of their respective time spans. So this is going to be epic, man. Mark Gatiss, it'll be interesting to get his character's backstory and just in terms of where he fits in. Peter Mackie, all right, if you followed this stuff on Twitter, that was a given. It'll be interesting to see how they round her up before Jodie Whittaker does her scenes. You know, for the 14th time, we're going to get It's All Changed Come Christmas, kids. Literally. So, let's wait and see what happens. Two Doctors, one moment in time. Merry Christmas, folks.
Okay, Susan and Alex. Oh, you're muted, Susan.
Okay, wow. I was excited to see Polly Wright. I was excited to see the first Doctor. I mean, I'm such a William Hartnell fan. I mean, my whole life is Susan Foreman. So, I mean, it was great to see him. It's going to be a really emotional thing to see him in this Christmas episode. I can't imagine that. I'm getting choked up. It's going to be so intense seeing the first Doctor and the 12th Doctor regenerate. Oh my gosh. Oh no. Okay, Alex, you take over.
It was a very quick and rapid trailer, and that's good. Teaser, I should say, and it didn't give too much away. And of course, it is good to see Pearl Mackie and Peter Capaldi with the wild mane of hair. And of course, then we'll have to see how the story works out. And we'll have to see how they introduce quote unquote 13th Doctor Jodie Whittaker, first female doctor. And we'll see if it enters into a new 5-year plan of marketing goodness for the BBC.
All righty. Let's go on over to Beefhead. You're muted, Beef.
Hello, Beef of C136 here. Well, what can I say? The only thing that's harder than I'm feeling right now will be the wait till Christmas. As Elijah said, the more from the start of it is tremendous. I'm going to really look forward to seeing how they recreate the scenes that we all know from the first Doctor. I like the idea that what is happening to one at that point in time affects the other. I think that's a very stylistically good way of doing it. There's no clear idea of why time is fractured or broken. I like the fact that we're going to see the first Doctor surrounded by explosions, which is something completely that we've not seen before. We're going to see him in a sort of real action type situation. There's a bit where you see their outlines surrounded by a background explosion. And I thought, oh, is that Mark Gatiss' character? But it's not. If you sort of follow the pattern of the shadow, that is the first Doctor. So that is going to be really good. Now, whatever this sort of crumbling churches, whether that's something that's tied into the First World War, I don't know. I like the fact that we see the first Doctor in Capaldi's TARDIS. So that's going to be the I don't like it section of the piece that's going to be coming up. I can't wait for it. The interplay between the two of them is going to be great because they both have a very dry, acerbic sense of humour. And like Matt said as well, it is. We've seen David Bradley playing William Hartnell portraying the Doctor. It's going to be nice to not have that sort of break, to be honest with you. It's going to be nice to have him sort of run it for a whole episode. And, it's thinking, well, it's how do you follow on from Christmas? Well, this is going to be a pretty epic way of doing it. It looks spectacular. It looks really well suited for Christmas. And I think it's going to be a really nice way of doing it. The only thing that makes me wonder is where, are we seeing Bill where she is now, or is it at another point in her timeline where her future cannot be spoiled? That's what I do wonder. Now, whether that means that that's going to give you a window to throw Matt Lucas in there somewhere, that would be nice. Because I think if you did it following on from the last of for the season finale, it's going to leave too many open-ended questions. So I think it would probably be better to have it later. But it's a nice sort of farewell. And if they're locked in a moment in time, well, we know someone else who's locked in a moment in time. But, does anyone really want to see her again? Let's wait and see.
All I know is somebody must have been working their little hinds off at the BBC because Capaldi's stuff wrapped on the 10th. And then it wasn't until a few days later that, Jodie Whittaker was spotted heading in a roadblock. But still, that inside of 2 weeks, they put together a 1-minute teaser trailer. Somebody had to put in some serious overtime. What can I say? Looks like it was very well put together, just as a little 1-minute, slice. They did use a little bit of existing footage, but at the same time, they had to use what footage was available, that's been edited, for the trailer that's actually in the special. David Bradley looking brilliant. Also the fact that, oh my goodness, it's like, check it out. It's the first Doctor as done by Michael Bay. Big.
Hey.
All right, let's go. William's got his hand up.
Here's a question, one that had to do with this episode. Do you think in this episode that the Capaldi's Doctor will inform the first Doctor about what happened with the Time War? That's to come, all the Doctors show up at the end of the story.
I highly doubt it because he would know that was a major, major no-no.
And my second question is, do you think when this episode airs, will Big Finish announce that they might use Bradley as the first Doctor for the audios?
That's a good question. Okay, first one had his hand up. Let's go to Graham.
Yeah, just to pick Will up on his point, even if he informed them about the events at the time, or the minute he buggered off back to his own time stream, he wouldn't retain it. So what's the point? With
No,
regards
no,
to Brad,
I don't mean telling him. Does he tells them about it? But remember, in the end of the story, every doctor showed up, so that means they knew about it to show up at that point.
I don't know. They might touch upon it, but just with regards to what the guys alluded to earlier on when they were going through their overall thoughts on the trailer, I quite like the fact that you've got two doctors here. As I said, at the end of their lifespan, both in the process of regenerating, and I find it quite ironic. It's almost as if it's went full circle. You've got the first doctor of both regeneration cycles about to go bye-bye. Just saying.
Okay, Susan and Alex.
Yeah, I thought the BBC didn't want multi-doctors, and we already had Day of the Doctor, but that's okay. It's just an old companions, but that's cool. That's okay. That's cool. I'm just teasing a little bit.
Okay, Matt Rose.
Well, I think it's exciting because it's never been done in the show that you have 3 doctors at this point of their time stream, the birth of a new one, and 2 doctors at the end, as Graham just mentioned. But I think that's what's quite exciting about Christmas. It's different, and you've got all these companions coming in at the end as well. I think this is the definition of how you can go out as a showrunner as well. You do something special for the fans and treat them this way. You just say, this is it. We're going to go out with a bang, and just how we're going to do closure to a big era. Do something completely original and do this for a way to go out on.
Okay. Wheels. Unmute yourself, Wheels.
Yeah, sorry, my mouse slipped there. I do have a few questions. One, do we think we know when exactly it is in the story, or where I should say, the Capaldi does regenerate? And what I mean by that is, will he save his regeneration until his timeline is fixed and he's back in the TARDIS, or is he going to regenerate near the First Doctor? And if so, could we see the First Doctor reacting to himself becoming a woman? Wouldn't that be interesting?
I don't know if they go down there. That would just get that would be just plain damn confusing.
And further, if we see the First Doctor regenerate, could we see him transform into Patrick Troughton? Or, as it were, rather.
That's a CG there, coward.
I mean, they do have Reese Shearer-Smith, although people don't seem to like Reese Shearer-Smith as Troughton. So.
Yeah, well, there's been no word on that yet, so who knows? Graham?
No, just while we're on Patrick Troughton, he was the second incarnation of obviously the first regeneration cycle, where his favourite catchphrase was "Oh my giddy aunt." Skip forward to the second regeneration of the second regeneration cycle, he could very well be an ant in the form of Jodie Whittaker. Go figure.
Elijah.
I just think it's very interesting to take, have 2 doctors at the end of their lives, and it kind of seems like they're going to be convincing one another it's all right to change. It's all part of our process. So you have 12 telling his first self, hey, change, because you're going to turn into me one day, and I also need to change. So I think that's awesome. And once again, that face morph at the beginning sent chills down my spine, because I was not expecting that.
Okay, William.
Just a quick question. Anybody know if they read or heard what's the length of this episode is going to be?
It's an hour.
Just an hour? I thought maybe it'd be a little bit more. Okay.
Okay, Beefhead.
I just think it's going to be really sexy at Christmas that you're going to have like a buddy doctor sort of cop action type situation as well. It's going to be fun. I don't think you're going to see Bradley's doctor see PCAT regenerate. I think they're going to recreate a certain amount of the classic stuff, but they don't want to sort of really anger any more fans than needs to be done at the moment because things are really up in the air. But what I do like about it is that there's just this fantastic sense of old and new still working together, and that's the thing that's, you know, maybe they're trying to sort of, you know, look to the future and trying to like knit stuff back together. I don't know, but it's just going to be really good, and I just can't wait for it. It's like I say, I expected it to be perhaps like a 1 minute scene, and you would get a scene. So like you were saying, they've really worked their socks off to put something together as a viable trailer like this. It's unbelievable. And the one thing I would say as well, Mark Gatiss as a Christmas companion, I don't think that's a bad choice. He's been there all the way along. He's shown up pretty much for every Doctor since the show's come back. I think, well, apart from maybe Eccleston, but he was there. He was on screen with Tennant. He was on screen with Smith. Now he's been on screen with Capaldi. He's been on screen with David Bradley as well. And I like the idea of having sort of like a bit of a posh upper class twit officer from the army being the sort of completely naive element in this. I think he's going to play it for laughs, and I think it will work well because he's going to be a brilliant comic foil for the two of them to just basically rag on for a whole hour. So yeah, whether you love or hate Mark Gatiss, I think he's going to be a value addition to this Christmas episode.
Okay, Philip.
Just to hit on what Beef just said about Gatiss. When I saw him pop up and he did his little bit, I was like, oh. Because I don't know whether I like the way the character was being portrayed in that little scene. It's a bit too silly for my liking. But anyway, my proper question is, as we see Polly, which is in the first Doctor's hand glowing, are we going to have like him mirroring Capaldi going, nope, I don't want to change. It keeps shaking off the regeneration until it actually happens. So that'd be a good little parallel to see them both do the same kind of thing that we saw at the last episode.
You know, Wheels.
Could there not possibly be any actual villain in this story? Maybe they just have to survive war and its after effects. Although they do seem to be in a single moment in time.
Well, remember, time was frozen in a scene like that, so we don't know how that happens.
But Bate brings up a good point in that the Doctor doesn't typically like men of the military background, so could we see both Doctors sort of rip on him until the end, you know? Could we have any you're a mindless sheep sort of thing going on? But my actual thought was that I wanted to say before that was, do we think there will be any mention of Susan? Because obviously there's not going to be any surprise appearances by her, given the fact that it wouldn't make sense in the first Doctor's timeline anyway. But it would be nice to finally have the first Doctor rather, ask a question like, hey, do I ever go back and visit Susan like I promised I would? And then having to have 12 break that news to say, no, we haven't got around to it yet. How do you think you would react to that?
Will, you got to listen to Big Finish. The 8th Doctor has visited Susan.
Well, yes, but this is slightly. I mean, I know they do canonize some sort of Big Finish when it comes to the Night of the Doctor and the companion naming, but I'm just going to assume that they're going to play on, either not having gone back yet or just not mention it at all. That's just what I think.
Likely they won't mention it at all because I've noticed one thing: they tend to not want to play in that playground anymore because then it starts affecting continuity for Big Finish, and so I don't think they're even going to mention it. To be honest with you. Okay, let's go to Graham.
Just to pick Philip up on his point with his slight concerns with regards to Mark Gatiss. A bit too cookie for you were saying, Phil. Maybe that's the point of the character. We'll not know until we see more. So,
I know, but this is a very serious Christmas episode.
For the Doctor, no, that character.
I know, but when you see someone like Mark Gatiss play off that kind of Hitler-type character, it's like, oh, it's going to be a spoil. It's going to spoil it a bit with his character being on board.
You're basing it on 10, 15 seconds, man. Let's see what else it is.
Fair enough. That's fair enough.
Okay, Susan and Alex. Go ahead, unmute yourself. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the doctor might be slightly anti-military, but he has worked with UNIT, he has worked with the Brigadier. So, I mean, we have to see how they ride it. We can't really tell from the trailer, and that's the point. It's not supposed to give it, or a teaser, I should say. It's not supposed to give too much away anyway. And from what I recall, every doctor has had like 3 moments. Their speech or what they declare, then they don't want to go, then they change. Isn't that the way it's been? That they sort of have a speech, then they don't want to go, then the new persona, says a sentence or whatever.
Well, you got to remember, yeah, as you said, we've only got a teaser here where there's not enough to answer any real questions. As you saw, we only saw a few seconds of Mark Gaddis's character, so we don't know where that character is going to go, if that's just happens to be a silly moment in that particular episode. So, all we have is that teaser, and we'll find out come Christmas. Right now, I'm a tri-masted schooner. I got 3 hard points going. This is just looking so good. It really is. So hopefully they don't screw it up. Okay, anyone else before we go ahead and sign off? Okay, we're all good? Oh, wait, Graham, go ahead.
Bloody mute button. Just with regards to the title, I find it kind of funny in terms of a pun. Do we have an issue with it based on the story plot point? I know a lot of people on the forums are probably going to shit over this thing, but I find it quite amusing, especially at Christmas time.
Okay, Wheels.
I just want to close out by saying that, yes, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be an amazing story. I hope the first Doctor has done justice, although I cannot imagine a scenario where he wouldn't be because of the people involved. The only thing I'm wondering now is he going to wish me a Merry Christmas to all the people at home?
It could happen. Susan and Alex.
Okay, one more thing is I've heard, and other people have told me that Stephen Moffat considers Doctor Who a fairy tale, and Twice Upon a Time, to touch on what Graham was saying, that is such a fairy tale sort of thing. I think that it's going to be like a happy ending. I can't imagine that it won't be anyway, except for it'll be incredibly sad.
To be fair, Sue, it's the pun on not just Once Upon a Time. It's also a pun on the 2 Christmas movies. Once Upon a Christmas. What were the 2 Christmas movies? Crap.
Home Alone.
No.
It's a Wonderful Life. No.
Okay, no. Is it Once Upon a Christmas Twice? It's one of the daft Hallmark franchises.
It's Once Upon a Christmas and Twice Upon.
There you go, Matt. Yeah. Screw you, Hallmark. Yeah.
that was actually a Disney series of movies, by the way.
Well, folks, all I can say is we're all excited. This was, very nice of them to actually put it out this time right after it debuted at Comic-Con. So all I can say is we'll all be hanging there with, in anticipation for Christmas. So good night, folks. See you later. Join us next week as we sit down and have a talk about a little movie called Guardians of the Galaxy for the Omega Files. So we'll follow you. So take care. Ta-ta. See you all then.
Hashtag hard till Christmas, or whatever you women folk have.
Yeah, there you go. we will all be hanging our stockings with care as Cappy's sitting there fondling his big hair. Yeah.
Bring your high heels.
Or lack thereof.
It will be hard for